Well, welcome everybody, and thanks for joining us on the first part of this four-part series, Leading Through Crisis. And what I really wanted to start with today is a quote, and it's that everything is going to be okay. If it's not okay, it's not the end. John Maxwell defines crisis as an intense time of difficulty requiring a decision that will be a turning point. So what are you currently thinking? At the end of this, we need to be leaders on the other side. So what are you doing right now to boost yourself to that next level? How are you redirecting yourself? And how are you going to be how we finish this race? So Christine, let me ask you, what is a practical thing that you can do to keep this crisis in the right perspective?
I think that awareness is everything when you're going through challenging times like this. And I'm going to talk a little bit about how we prepare for crisis ahead of time. But I think it's really important for to keep in perspective, like you said, that this is just temporary, and that if you're doing things to help you stay positive through this time, those are the things that I believe will raise your awareness and allow you to have a more positive perspective on any crisis that we go through.
I love that, Christine. And when we think about it, in the time of lockdown, it's really the time to unlock the things that are inside of us. This is an opportunity. It doesn't mean that this opportunity isn't going to be difficult. We're going to have to adapt to new ways of doing business. We're going to have to change. But, if we accept this challenge, we're all going to be better off at the end. We always need to be thinking that there's always a way forward. Yes, we might have to work harder or even get creative, but there's a way. It's said that crisis doesn't create character, it actually reveals it. And Tina and I later on in this series will be talking about that. But Tina, let me ask you, what are 3 practical things that you can do to stay strong and steady in a crisis?
Thanks, Sean. I tell you, I'm really excited to be a part of this panel. I can't even begin to tell you, and seeing all the familiar names on here is just getting me super, super excited. And lean in right now, get onto the chat box, and any questions that you might have, hopefully we'll answer them with the presentations that we do. But at the end, we'll give a time of Q&A as well too. But I tell you, one of my business partners, her name is Amy Van Slambrook, and it's so interesting. I bet you all are lining up the different people that have come into your life this past year that you're thinking, wow, now I know why they were supposed to be in my life for such a time as this. And I tell you, something that she taught me, and she said you have to do 3 things: to be grounded, to be surrounded, and to be connected. And the very first thing, be grounded physically and spiritually. This is not the time to let up on your physical health. This is not the time to let up spiritually. Those are the 2 most important things. And I tell you, God spoke to me many years ago, and he said, Tina, you've got to get yourself grounded physically and spiritually. And that happened a long time ago when I was diagnosed with a precancerous lesion. And I'll never forget that year. That was in 2014. And it helped me to line up where I am today, to be grounded and to be surrounded. And I'm telling you right now, get yourself surrounded with people full of love and gratitude. I heard the incredible quote today about gratitude is what gratitude allows us to operate at a much higher level, because you cannot be negative and grateful at the same time. And then be around people full of love. When you come from a place of love, you will have the best solutions. So be around those types of people. Get off the news. There's some good media out there, but there's very little good media out there. So get off the news, stop binging on Netflix, binge on this, listen to this over and over and over. There's so much free stuff. Be surrounded and be connected, and get on this. hey, can you start a watch party right now? Start a watch party so everybody can be a part of this, because this is mainly for salon owners and leaders, because that's my heart. That's all of our heart, because all of us have had treacherous things happen in our lives in this business. And I'm telling you, this is not my first coronavirus. I've had other crises happen to me in my business. And all I want to do is help people. So you've got to be connected with the right people. So those are the 3 pieces of advice I have right now, Sean.
Thank you, Tina. And, you know, with uncertainty, you know, this really is our pathway to opportunity. You know, this is an environment where we can grow, we can experience new things, we can produce new things. We're going to come out on the other side of this as a new way to do business. So let's, you know, start to visualize that outcome, because if we can't see it, go there, you know, but don't think about what can happen in a month, 10 years from now. Just focus on the 24 hours ahead of you and what you can do to bring you closer to where you want to be. You know, when we're going to look back at this time, you know, we'll learn that surviving has allowed us to advance our discomforts, lead to our growth. The changes, you know, made us adapt, and adapting has made us all stronger. So at this time, it's time for us to survive, advance, adapt, thrive. We need to pivot, change, lead, inspire, mentor, and motivate. And with that, it is my pleasure to turn the time over to Christine.
Thank you so much, Sean. I am super excited to be here, and I really want to talk to you a little bit. Kaylee and I are both going to talk to you a bit about leading through distraction in crisis. And if you go to the next slide, I have a quote, and I've been studying Think and Grow Rich for some time. And this comes right out of Napoleon Hill's book. And he says, when opportunity came, it appeared in a different form and from a different place than expected. Opportunity has a sly habit of slipping in by the back door, and it often comes disguised in a form of misfortune or temporary defeat. Perhaps that's why so many fail to recognize opportunity. And, you know, several years ago, about 2.5 years ago, if you go to the next slide, Sean, I was met with temporary defeat. And it was me and my 2 girls. I'm a single mom, and I was just about to embark on a new business. I was opening a new salon, and at the same time, parallel to that experience, I bought a home. And it ends up that the home had toxic mold, and it also had water intrusion issue. I became very sick through this time. And I had to, this is a picture of a big dumpster sitting outside my home, and me sitting on the front lawn in tears, throwing every single thing that I own into that dumpster. And it was really awakening, because it was a week before Thanksgiving. We didn't have any place to live. I lived on my brother's basement floor and then in my sister's spare room. And it was a challenging time, because at one respect, I was so happy that I was embarking on this new space, and I was supposed to be happy, but yet felt like I was losing so much, and I was in this incredible crisis. But I had to be this strong leader, not only for my staff, but for my 2 daughters. And they needed to see me real and authentic and understand that I do have emotions, and that, you know, this is hard stuff. But they also had to see me really pull it together and find ways to be positive in this time. And what Tina said earlier about being spiritually grounded, this is when I felt like I stuck my roots so strong in the ground. And I had to have this unbelievable faith. And I had to really dig deep for that faith at this time. Although I had lost team members because I couldn't be in this space any longer because I got so sick from the mold that I no longer could be in the salon atmosphere. So for about a year to a year and a half, I was completely leading from outside my business. So you can go to the next slide. And I had to, one of the things that needed to happen is I had to get out of my comfort zone. And one of the things I hear my mentors say a lot is, you need to jump and spread your wings on the way down. And at this time, I really couldn't, I prepared, although I hadn't been fully prepared for this because I didn't know this was going to happen. But what I want to tell you is I prepared ahead of time. And the way I prepared, it helped me to fight off the distraction that I was in. So I was still, able to lead from outside my business because I prepared for my leadership ahead of time. The other thing that helped me to be less distracted and to stay focused was the fact that I prepared spiritually. And you can go to the next slide, Sean. And the way I did that was, the one thing I could tell you is I held a vision of the direction that I wanted to go. So this is a picture of the space that was being built. And what I did was I would hone this vision. And so in the morning when I would wake up, I would think about all the things that I had pre-planned prior to the crisis. And so photographs, journals that I would write in of things that I wanted. And I would plant those seeds before I started my day as a reminder for myself to know that this is what my dream was. And I also had to remind myself that I constantly wanted to get out from behind the chair and lead my company. And guess what? The opportunity didn't come the way I planned, but guess what? It came. And I embraced that. And it was a struggle, and it still wasn't easy. But I have to remember, I asked for exactly what I got. It just wasn't clothed the way I thought it would have been, but it was there. And I learned to lead from outside the salon. So you can go to the next slide. So I will challenge you to think about your mind as your garden. And one of the ways that I would envision my mornings was, how am I going to cultivate my garden? So I'm either going to put weeds in my garden of bad thoughts, or I'm going to cultivate my garden every morning and make sure that I'm planting the right flowers, the right shrubs. And it helps me to think about this when I start my day in the morning. And actually I hold this vision and think, I reflect and I start to think about, what did I plant in my mind yesterday? Maybe I had a bad day yesterday, but what am I going to replace it with today? So what am I going to pull out of yesterday's thoughts, and what am I going to put in today's thoughts? You can go to the next slide, Sean. So 3 life-changing habits for me were to realize that in chaos especially, one of the things that I used to do is I used to wake up in the morning and I used to run like hell to the direction that I was going. And usually it was to get to the school late, to hurry up and get to work, trying to, catch up with emails on the go. And then I started to adapt some success habits. And those success habits were waking up ahead of time. They were meditation. I think it's Wayne Dyer says, meditation is when God speaks to you, and prayer is when you speak to God. And so I really adapted my meditation process and my prayer, understanding that I wasn't going to hear God's voice unless I got quiet. And so it was really important for me to spend that time with myself. So as I got quiet, and before I even went to that direction, what I would do is I would read something prior to, and usually it's something spiritual or it's a challenge. If I had a communication challenge, maybe the day before with a staff member or something like that, I would read a communication book, and I would read a piece of that, and then I would meditate on that. And then when I was through, I would take my journal and I would write down the thoughts. And I would challenge you to do this. And a lot of times people say, I can't meditate because I don't know how. And, you know, I don't really think it's about trying to figure out how or judging the fact that you don't know, because you really have to suspend the need to know how and just put it into action, and you will be so pleasantly surprised as to what comes out on that paper. So I would say 3 life-changing habits that allowed me to fight the distraction were to get quiet, to journal, and to read and put really good thoughts into my garden. So you can go to the next slide. So I'm gonna leave you with this. Every failure brings with it the seed of an equivalent success. And I think that when I left that crisis in my life, the things that I found and the opportunity that I found were way better than that crisis I went through. So hang in there. And Kaylee, I know you have some amazing ideas for fighting distraction. So I'm going to leave it to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Christine. I love that. And I think, you know, most entrepreneurs I know, they practice that morning ritual. I know I do. When I first learned about it, I was like, yeah, but I have kids. Like, how do you do a morning ritual when your kids are the ones waking you out of bed? And then the speaker took my excuse away and was like, I did this with 7 kids. And I was like, shoot, I only have 2. And so I did. I woke up even, it was like 5, you know, now they sleep in a bit later, thankfully. And it was life-changing because it was that moment of quiet that you just don't get in your day when you have kids or when you're working or when you're like speeding from thing to thing. So thanks for sharing that great insight. So for those of you, thank you to all our listeners for being on here, all you amazing salon owners and salon leaders, or maybe you're in another industry. So some of you may not know me. I'm Kaylee Auger, and I'm a business and success trainer. What we all have in common here is that we're John Maxwell coaches, and blah, 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 all this other stuff. Basically, I've been in the industry for 25 years and every angle of it. And I love the industry. I love salon owners. And I'm so excited to share with all of you. So let's jump into it, Sean. We'll go on to the other slide here. So I'm going to carry on with what Christine was talking about. And so negative thinking is a feeling that everything that could go wrong would go wrong, right? And so it's this seed, again, that you talked about, Christine, like we planting these seeds of making up the story. And I remember being at a Tanya Trinova event, and she's like, if you're gonna make up a story, like make it good, right? Like you're making it up anyway. You know, people like mostly our moms that were like going downtown and they're like, we're not gonna find parking, we're not gonna find parking, oh my gosh, we're not gonna find parking. Well, like we're making it up. It's like, no, I'm gonna get VIP parking right in front of where I'm going. We're making it up anyway. So let's keep the things that we're making up positive, because that's what a negative thinking is. It's really starting to make up all these scenarios that could go wrong. Let's keep going, Sean, please. So I'll share a little bit about my story and negative thinking. And it's kind of funny because, stay with me here, I'm pretty naturally a positive person. And people my whole life have told me I'm positive, and I just usually feel positive. And so I just thought, like, what's wrong with all these people being negative? I don't get it. And it wasn't until I went to France. My husband's from France. And, you know, on the outside, it looks like I'm living the dream. And so it's going to be hard to relate to the story because you're like, stop complaining, you went to France, right? But that was my darkest moments, if you can believe it, because I went there and I kind of struggled with the language, and I went there thinking it was for a certain period of time. And I decided in my head I was going to do this online course. And so I decided I didn't need to meet people. I didn't need to make an effort to make friends because I didn't want to be distracted. So here we go with the distraction again. I was really safeguarding myself to not be distracted. And so I just started plunking away on my project, and I was there for 4 months. And about 3 months in, I just started feeling really dark and really lonely. And even though I was living with my husband and my kids, I just had this darkness I'd never felt before. And I allowed myself to get there because of, Tina, what you shared, like I didn't surround myself. And the positivity that I had at home was because I did surround myself. And I did all the things that I loved, but now I was plucked out of that environment that kept me positive, and I was plunked into a situation that I created for myself and that I felt really negative. And I didn't know how to handle these emotions. And I was just trying to like positive thinking myself out of it, and it wasn't working. And so, you know, and some of you might be there now, right? You're plucked out of your life. You're plucked out of the buzz of the salon that keeps you positive, right? Like your clients love to see you. They bring you thankfulness, gratitude. They bring you positive energy, and you just got plucked out of it. And so you might have gone immediately into a dark place, or like me, it might have been a slippery slope. And the one thing that I remarked on it, because after I came home, it was like the second I landed back in Canada, the fog lifted. And I was trying to reflect on it because we were going to go again next year. And I'm like, how can I not let that happen again? And what I notice about this negative thinking is it's a slippery slope, right? It's just like, once you're there, you don't feel like surrounding yourself. You don't feel like reaching out to get help. One of my friends was like, why didn't you call me? I thought you were having a great time there. And I'm like, I didn't have anything to say, right? And she's like, next time just call and say, I'm lying in bed and I have nothing to say. But I had allowed myself to get to this point where I was just like, didn't want to do anything because I got in this funk. And so what I want to share with you is my learnings from that. And my learnings from that is what Tina said exactly. Surround yourself. The next time I went back there, I was like on it to make friends, right? And now it's going to be digital friends for now, right? For this season, it's digital friends. But, you know, I went to the kids' school. I hung out. I like pounced on any parent that I thought might be a good friend for me. And I ended up finding some other expats, and we started this walking club. And I just was able to transform that experience that I had the year before. Let's go to the next slide, Sean. So, you know, that's really what I think we need to do at this time to stay out of the negative thinking. Oh, Sean, can we go to the next slide? Oh, thank you. There we go. Is we need to surround ourselves with positive people that can lift you up. And I think we need to know ourselves so that we know what gets us out of these funks. And we need to beware of the slope. And it's like, when you're here, you need to start to help yourself. Because once you get down here, you don't feel like helping yourself, right? So you need to start to recognize these signals of, ooh, I'm on the slope, and turn it around. And every one of you is gonna be different. But for me, a workout with a friend, the positive reading, listening to my favorite speakers in the morning to get a little dose of inspiration, some of the things. So really try to get to know yourself. What feeds you? What gives you energy? and what helps you stay out of the negative thinking. Another thing that kind of comes along with this time is the anxiety, right? The uncertainty. And this is fear. And the fear is of the unknown. Okay. So it's when we don't know what's coming next, we have fear. And what is the counter of fear? Does anyone know what the counter of fear is? It's faith, right? It's faith, it's love. And so again, when you feel yourself going down that slippery slope of fear, which is also making up fake stories, right? Because we're just like deciding what's going to happen in the future, and we get scared of it. We have to have faith and be like, we're going to be okay. This too shall pass. We are just in a season. And this is a season that, like a butterfly going into a cocoon, you're going to wrestle, right? You're going to wrestle through this season, and you're going to come out even more beautiful than you went into it. If you can really embrace that struggle and release the outcome. Release the outcome of where this is going to end up, because we are going to change. We're going to be doing things differently. So my mission for you is to push past the scary and uncertain and take the steps to work on the things that you do have control over. And that's what we're all talking about, right? It's like faith and action. All these things are going to move you out of fear. So let's go to the next step. I want to have some of our other leaders here share with you some of the things that they do. So okay, well, I'll just ask whichever one of you wants to answer this, but I'm asking all of you too. So what are some good ways to combat anxiety and fear during times of uncertainty? So if you, our listeners, have an idea, go ahead and put it in the chat box. Some of the things that you do to combat anxiety and fear, share them here. It's going to give somebody else an idea. I told you, for me, it's exercise. Move my body. I need to move my body to get that oxygen flowing again. So what are some of the things that you do? How about Nuala? Will you share with us some of the things that you do to combat anxiety and fear?
Everybody, how's it going? Thanks for joining us. It's been great so far, guys. I'm writing notes. I'm scribbling. My head's down. I'm just taking notes here. It's simple. The first week that we got into this, I definitely was out of my habits. And, after probably day 7, I said, okay, this has to stop. So just making my bed. You know what I mean? Every morning I got up and just made my bed. And, had my breakfast at the same time. The first week I didn't do that. And it was just those simple grounding things that helped me start to be calm. I have morning practices and rituals like Christine was talking about. And, but I didn't make my bed for the first few days. And at the end of the night, getting into an unmade bed is nothing worse. And I can't remember the last time I hadn't made my bed for years. So just something simple like that for me was what grounded me through all this, because, I did go off, stayed up late watching TV. And then again, the second week, I just said, I got to stop this. Okay. So I went back to making my bed, went back to bed at a certain time, and, got up at the same time every morning, had my breakfast, had my rituals. So that was for me the simplest thing. I was like, what can I control? Because I can't control anything else at the moment. So just something simple.
Awesome, Nuala. Awesome, thank you. So it's really by putting in structures for yourself, some rituals that keep some normalcy to your life, and not letting some of those habits fall out, that was helping you. Scott put on the chat here, not watching TV. Yes, great plan. That's a good one too. Let's go to the next slide, Sean. And so I'm gonna ask this one to Rosemary. What's one practical thing you can do to keep focused in a time of crisis, or that you do? And again, to all our listeners, go ahead in the chat box. What's a practical thing that you do to keep focused during this time of crisis?
Thanks for the question, Kaylee. So thanks for everybody for being on the call. The one practical thing that I like to do to keep focus is that I divvy up my time to do certain things in the course of the day. So for things that I've neglected, let's say, for example, cleaning a closet, taking the time to say, okay, you know what, I'm going to spend the next few hours cleaning out a closet or getting rid of some papers. Then I'll say, you know what, now I need some creative time. So I prioritize my day to not get swallowed in by the media and the news. And I constantly make it a point now, especially one of my friends who's watching, Mike, who's on our JMT team. we have a call every week. And then I speak to other people, leaders like yourselves, where it's staying connected with other people who are bigger, better, and stronger than me and can help me in areas where I feel that I may be falling apart.
Awesome. So time blocking really helps you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I totally get that too. Some of you that are parents and all of a sudden have this responsibility of homeschooling, like what the heck, right? And, you know, I find, you know, we have to look at different segments of our life, because a lot of us are just consumed in our business and what's going to happen to our business. And we have to remember that we have our personal life, which is our health, moving our body. We have our community, which is, like you said, reaching out, Rosemary, creating that community around you and serving your community. We have our family life. And right now, for some of you, that means homeschooling your kids. And I don't know about you, but if I've already checked my email and then I try to homeschool, like I am so distracted and I am not giving them the attention that they deserve. So tomorrow we're going to do a homeschool day. I know it's Good Friday, but that's just how our week worked out this week. We're going to do a homeschool day, and I'm not going to check my email all day long, because I know the second I go down that trail, my mind's in that for the rest of the day, and I cannot get my focus back on them. And so really safeguarding yourself against the distractions becomes rituals that you can do. And so Rosemary, I love the time blocking, because it's like, yeah, I've given myself this certain period of time, no checking email, because I know the email's going to distract me. And so it's almost like creating rules for yourself so that you don't buy into your own human nature, right? And that comes along with really knowing yourself and knowing where your defaults are and being able to guard against them. So thanks for sharing that. How about all you listeners? What are your ways that you keep focus during a crisis? And while I watch for those, let's move to the next slide. So I'm going to leave you with this. Number one, remember, this too shall pass. It's a season. Use the time. Think of the time as a gift, right? We've been given the gift of time. Some of you are homeschooling. You've been not necessarily given the gift of time, but you've been given the gift of time with your kids. So just remember, this too shall pass. Number two, have clarity about what changes you're going to make in your life when life comes back to normal, right? Some of you are just wishing you had your old life back, but we all know there was things that weren't working. So what things moving forward? Now's the time to, number three, press the reset button. So you get a chance to press the reset button on your life. Now's the time for reflection. Journaling. What I love what you said, Christine, like sometimes you're surprised of what comes out, right? A lot of times we have all these thoughts, ideas, dreams spinning around in our head. And when you actually write them out, you get clarity. So ask yourself that question, take your journal and start writing what things I'm going to do differently and what's it going to look like? And how can I plant those seeds now to create that change? So thank you so much for joining us. Let's open it up to questions. Here's my info. If anyone wants to reach out and get a hold of me, I'd love to offer you additional support. Maybe Tina, you have some closing words, or Rosemary or Sean, somebody jump in.
Yeah, that was an amazing, amazing message. And I've got to tell you, it's so crazy, everything that you and Christine said today. It's so awesome, because I feel like if you don't get alone, you're not going to hear God speak to you. And so something that I have to do, and we're all talking about this, is priority management. I got to get up way before everybody gets up. And I remember when my kids were little, now I have a grandson and he's sleeping in our bedroom. And because we want him to, but the reason is, but I got to still get up. So I'm still part of the 5 a.m. club. Are you a part of the 5 a.m. club? Put on here, yes, I'm part of the 5 a.m. club, Tina, or maybe you want to join the 5 a.m. club. And most people know, because I have a private Facebook page where I pray for people, be amazing. And so I'm up already posting prayers on that page, for people. And I know they're counting on me. So maybe every single person listening right here, Kaylee, Christine, Rosemary, Nuella, all of the people that are listening, maybe they need to start their own Facebook page. You all have influence over somebody. Leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. You have influence over someone. Become a motivational expert. Everyone listening on this right now, you are motivational experts. You have influence over people in your life. And I'm telling you, one of the best ways to get over this crisis is to be motivating to somebody, be inspiring to somebody. Just like someone said earlier, I don't know if it was Jackie, just giving back. Give back of your time, yourself, your encouragement right now. There's so much you can do to be able to get through this crisis.
Yeah, that's great words of advice, Tina. I totally agree. And does anybody out there, any of the attendees have any questions for us before we end our segment? Because I want to end something from Napoleon Hill's book, which I think is so aligned with what we're going through.
Can I just say one thing here, Christine? I think like what Kaylee was saying, like, don't do it alone. You know, stay connected. You know, hop on, you know, if this, you can hop on this every week for the next, you know, we're going to be here for the next 4 weeks. And if that's all you do for yourself, just please do it with somebody that you know will lift you, you know, move you in the right direction. Just don't do it alone, you know, stay together. And that's one of the reasons why, you know, the 6 of us came together. You know, we felt that we could have this voice and, you know, help people lead through crisis, not only in our industry, but, you know, I think just to be a leader in your home, to be, you know, just to lead yourself, but just don't do it alone, guys. That's all I have to add. Thanks.
Can I say something as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is a panelist who, her name is Kitty, and she said she's been waiting to hear from God. So maybe we can all just help her to find that voice within herself. So Tina, maybe you want to start and just, you know, we're not making this a religious thing. This is about just finding inner peace within yourself. Please understand, we're not pushing religion here. So we all have our own beliefs.
Yeah. Yeah, Kitty, I know that God's already speaking to you, and he could be using it in a form of someone right now. It could be us that he's speaking through. And it's so amazing because God just shows up when you least expect it. You'll hear him in the birds. I was walking yesterday with my grandson, and for the first time in a long time, I actually heard the birds. And I believe that's just God showing up, just saying, peace, slow down. It's fine. Whatever you're going through, you're going through. Whatever you're going through, you're going through. So I just ask God right now to just allow you to hear his voice today.
Awesome. There's another question from Amanda. How can I help to uplift someone who is in a downward spiral? Bad. I don't want to hurt their feelings. It is time for them to rise up, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe you have some, I mean, I think the one thing I would say is giving them permission to ask you for help. Because it does have to come from them, right? We all have someone in our family that we're like, oh, they have so much potential. We all have someone on our team that we're like, just take my advice, if they would just follow my leadership. But the truth is that they have to want for it. But I think, like my friend said to me, like, call me and say I'm in bed and I'm going to speak to you, right? Like, give them permission to reach out to you when they're ready.
Yeah. I love that you said that, because I think it's important to just encourage right now. And one of my mottos is pray, don't say. Let's not say anything. Let's just pray. Because God, just like what Kitty was saying, God's going to show up, and it's nothing that we can really do for people or say for people, but God can. And so just kind of just pray and don't allow yourself to get mad at that person. And like you said, Kaylee, I mean, we've had Sean can attest to this, we've had so many people that have left our company that we saw big, huge visions for them and they left. But you've got to allow people to have their own journey, honor their journey, and everyone's gonna respond or react to this crisis in a whole different way, and just allow them.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And don't make them wrong. You know, don't focus on what they're not doing. All you can control is yourself, and, you know, just try and be the example, and, you know, just don't make them wrong, because I think that's also an avenue you don't want to go down. and just kind of practice yourself, and maybe they'll see you being consistent. I remember my husband saying this many years ago when I got into the shelf help business, and trying to work on myself, and I'm like, oh my God, this is great, we got to do this, and oh my God, I got this book, and he'd be like, oh, here she goes again. And one day he said, just do it for yourself. Just do it for yourself. I'm okay. And then, once you take care of yourself, you'll find then that all around you will, it'll all align. So Amanda, just, keep strong, and, just stay positive yourself.
Can I add something with that for Amanda?
Yeah.
Amanda, maybe perhaps ask your friend or your colleague, whoever this person is say, what would a beautiful picture in your life look like? Have them describe it to you, and then help them through that process, because sometimes they have the answers within. They just need to be able to have somebody pull it out of them.
And I think, Nuala, also on that note, Lauren Gartland always says, when you change yourself, you give permission to others to change. And, I think that is, like I see in the chat, like, stay positive yourself, be the example. And that's exactly, be open to inspire others, but don't be attached to the results. Yeah. All right. Any other questions? Sean, do you see any on the Facebook coming in?
Yeah, so I have one here from Bonnie. Hi, Bonnie. Thanks for joining us. And she started a 2020 reset board, monitoring positive conversations with family, friends, staff, and mentors. Listed by dates as when I want to make sure I'm doing my best to reach out with personal calls rather than living through Facebook. I'm sorry she couldn't get on the call earlier, but Bonnie is like she's one of our great leaders in our industry, and I'm so happy that I know her a long time from way back in strategies days. But I think that's a great idea, a reset 2020, because this wasn't on my vision board. I don't know about you ladies, but I didn't have this one posted into my second quarter of the year, so I think a reset is great. Yeah, it's a great idea, Bonnie. Thanks.
It's funny, every year I pick a word for the year, Nuala, and I couldn't figure out why God gave me the word new. Now I know. All things are going to be new, for sure. It's the new normal happening. And I don't know about you, but I'm getting excited about it. I feel like there's going to be a lot of great shifts in every single category in our country. And I feel really positive about this. So I can't thank you guys enough. Join the webinar link. Sean's going to repost the webinar link on the Salon Owner Networking page. If you are not a part of the Salon Owner Networking page, make sure that you let us know so that we can add you to the Salon Owner Networking page. And also he's going to repost the link to the webinar so that we have your information, and you can actually join the Zoom live call, which is a little bit easier than the actual Facebook live call. So we'd love to have you guys join us on here, and we can't thank you enough for being a part of this.
And we're going to post a couple of questions that you can, percolate on before you get on to next week. We'll post that also on the Salon Owner Network page.
Yeah.
And also, just in regards to that webinar link, if you registered for today, please re-register for the one that'll be posted. We've gotten smarter, like we said, everything's new and we're growing, and we found that we can actually schedule a reoccurring webinar. So you'll only have to register one more time, and you'll be linked into the remaining of our series. So thank you guys so much for joining us, and thank you panelists for your motivation and your inspiration.
Yeah, I would like to leave with one last quote from Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich. This was written during the Great Depression. And he says, the Depression was a blessing in disguise. It reduced the whole world to a new starting point that gives everyone a new opportunity.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Thanks
Bye,
for joining.
everyone.
Have a great
Everybody.
week. Talk.
Same time, new link.
Very
Take care,
good.
everybody.
Okay, have a great day, everybody.